Well, good afternoon. Senate Republicans met with the governor in the House and made a sincere offer. So we took away the other offer that we had made that we thought was good, but we really wanted to get the ball rolling, and so we offered an increase of $75 million for E12, and that is ongoing, and $25 million more for public safety and judiciary. So a total of $100 million ongoing, and so that we want to get the ball rolling, and so we made an offer that we think gets us there. There are no tax increases on this offer in any way, but that will be the conversation for a later date. What I've asked the governor and the House to do is to let's focus on what are the spending targets so we know what a budget would actually look like down the road, and so that tells us where there might be any problems. We know that we can put forth a budget that balances, that we have a surplus on the bottom line in 20 and 21, and so that's where we're going to go there. But right now I'm saying let's focus on getting the spending targets so we know where we're at. We made significant movement on education and public safety.
I did not hear cheers erupting from the room. Does that mean they were indifferent, or did they?
What's that?
I did not hear cheers erupting. Does that mean they were indifferent, or how they?
No. I believe we're going to get together within an hour or so. So hopefully things are moving.
Where will the money come from?
At this, let's save that for next week. So, all right, thank you.
Well, that was disappointing.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being back today. I think we're glad to say we received a counteroffer to our offer, which is, I think, positive news. It's also, I think, for us, after months of posturing, at least there was a recognition on the Senate Republican side that they have grossly underfunded education and public safety. Their offer, while they will call it a doubling of their offer on public safety. Still doesn't even hit the numbers that were needed just for physical infrastructure at Stillwater and St. Cloud to make sure that our officers are safe and that we have the best correctional facility. But I think the problem we're going to see, and this is where negotiations have to start from, there always is this recognition that we need to put this money in, but they're tied to this idea that where are we going to get the revenue? So in this case, they go to taking it from the Healthcare Access Fund. Now remember, that's the same Healthcare Access Fund that they're going to repeal, that they blew $1 billion hole in the budget. What they did to pay for this was they just accelerated that rate on the Healthcare Access Fund by a year, pushing it up one more year. So it really puts us in a position to go ahead and we'll go back in and we'll analyze. It's a fairly short offer. I think you got a copy of it. We'll analyze this, but it's a situation I said this administration wouldn't put people in. They're asking us to choose between elderly sick, those that are receiving health care, especially through the Healthcare Access Fund, pitting them against quality schools. We've simply asked them to have an honest conversation about what it's going to take to educate our children. We're moving a little bit in that direction. And then the other side of that equation is to have an honest conversation. How does Minnesota pay for this to stay fiscally sound like we always have, keep our AAA bond rating, and make those long-term investments to keep us as competitive as we can be. So that's where we stand as of now. Our goal is to go immediately from here, start talking about what we can do and the positives, make a counteroffer at some time here in the near future, and see if we can get things moving.
Governor, is it hard to say you're having an honest conversation when they offer $100 million more with no way to pay, no new revenue?
Well, it is a little bit, but I do think it's important in this moment to acknowledge that we asked for them to come back with a counteroffer that was a real one, other than the other one we had the other day, and they did that. And so I will give my little bit of sugar on that one and say that we got that, but we do still have to have this honest conversation, and it was very clear. They said it's coming from the health guy. Think about this. The very Healthcare Access Fund that has to go away, that we're going to get rid of, we're going to use that fund that creates $1 billion, but the way we're going to get to pay for this without having to have an honest conversation with Minnesotans, we're going to accelerate the use of that fund by 1 year and transfer that over to something that we've been saying, because remember, it came in, first of all, that there is plenty of money in education. Our offer was plenty to be there, and now all of a sudden, obviously, as we've said, school district parents across the state are saying that it wasn't enough. So yeah, I'm going to keep this in the right spirit. An offer was made. I think we've expressed our concerns with it. I think that now maybe it's incumbent for us to take some time, look through this, come back again and what we can do to move us closer to, again, our goal in this is not to win a political battle, it's to have well-educated and well-funded education system in Minnesota, healthcare that's accessible to all of high quality, and that community prosperity that invests in that infrastructure. Because again, we're not seeing those investments that are going to make a difference, because they've made it clear they are going to continue to allow our roads and bridges to hit that tipping point to start to become more expensive in the future, and no real plan to address that.
Thank you, everybody.
Maybe you get
How
that.
far short does this fall, in your opinion?
Last question.
Too early to say, I think, on this. Certainly for us, it's significant. Again, I do think it's at least somewhat of acknowledgement. The two areas, there's many, I'll talk about housing, some of the other things when we come back, but E12 and public safety was irresponsibly underfunded. I mean, public safety almost got to the point where there may be legal and constitutional issues that were so underfunded, staff ratios at correctional facilities. So, I mean, an acknowledgement is that our first budget that we put out, they're saying was in the very first offer half too small. And so we'll see.
What
Thank
time
you.
do you return?
Yeah, I'm coming back.
3:30.
The Senate's offer is woefully inadequate. It continues to pit elderly and disabled Minnesotans and their health care against the school children of the state of Minnesota. It does not honestly acknowledge the needs of the state. It does, however, acknowledge that their initial starting position was woefully inadequate for our schools and for public safety. And so in that respect, it is a small step forward in negotiations that they are acknowledging that there is not enough investment in their proposed budget for what our schools need and for what we need for our public safety infrastructure. When we have murders of guards in state correctional facilities, it is not a time to be as low as they were in their public safety numbers. So going up, that's a step in the right direction. Now, what we really need to get to is an honest conversation about having the resources to make the investments that Minnesotans need. And we're not there yet, but this is a beginning.
I would only add that Minnesotans know that you get what you pay for. And Republicans are telling us what they would like to move towards paying for, but they're not telling us yet whose checkbook it's coming out of. And we cannot go back to the days of irresponsible budgeting and deep deficits. We have to pay for the investments that we make, and that is what we expect to come out of this legislative session.
The governor said that they're taking money from the healthcare access fund for these increases, is that right?
They would propose to accelerate the deficit in the healthcare access fund. So yes, again, they are pitting the healthcare for Minnesotans who are elderly and Minnesotans with disabilities against the needs of school children. That's not an honest budget. We have these needs, we have to honestly acknowledge them, and we have to invest what we need to in both of our schools and our healthcare for Minnesotans.
So you guys just going to hang out here and wait for another, you're going to respond to their offer.
We are going to discuss the response to their offer.
Another meeting at 3:30.
Yes, or thereabouts.
And we will sit in chairs.